So, you just destroyed the Lord of Cinder with your gang of 3 phantoms and think, that was easy. Time to compare my skills to my fellows. Fresh and full of confidence, you plant yourself in the online hotspot that is the balcony of Pontiff Sulyvahn. You put down your sign and await your first opponent. During your 7th hour of waiting and watching, the only thing that can bring you joy anymore, you are summoned! You sprint to the balcony as fast as your overburdened legs can carry you, excited to demonstrate your masterful technique which had carried you through the main game to this unwitting foe. You wave as he does and hop into the ring. You both prepare yourselves, he with magic, and you with the adrenaline of deciding between a free first strike and applying a buff yourself. The fight begins and you advance. He rolls away like a coward and strikes as he retreats. You are undaunted by the damage, knowing that skill will prevail. You walk forwards as anything else would show an unacceptable weakness. You land your first hits of many, giving you the assurance that your tactics have merit. The enemy begins attempting different moves. Their fear is showing. They can see the superiority of your strategy. It's a blind panic. They attempt anything new to try and catch you off your guard. You press the attack as their offense falters. If only he would stand and accept his defeat, rather than roll to prolong the inevitable. At last, the moment is here. Time to... Hi, I'm the Fool, and if this scene looks familiar to you, it might be time to go ahead and get good. Now, that may sound cryptic, but don't worry, this series will walk you through the steps to getting a little closer to that hallowed ground. In this episode, we look at steps to starting a duel with an edge. There are 4 things you should take note of when entering the dueling area. What gesture is used? What weapon does my opponent have? What kind of internet am I going to suffer through? And what playstyle archetype can I see fit the enemy? Each of these points will be discussed further as we continue. At this stage, I have entered the dueling area and am approaching my opponent. I can see at this point that my opponent is performing a gesture. His weapon remains visible, so I can assume it is likely a normal bow or perhaps Legion etiquette. This nonverbal demonstration typically indicates that both parties agree to an honorable duel, and you can expect those who perform the bowing actions to refrain from chugging Estus mid-fight. Obviously this is not a guarantee, but amongst more experienced players, it is standard. This prompts my immediate reaction to reciprocate. This tier list illustrates the respective honor levels of each gesture. Anything above neutral is an acceptable way to start and close a duel. The neutral gestures are common in Fight Clubs, where pointing is used to indicate whose turn it is, and the resting gestures are used to sit on the sidelines. The toxic gestures will in most cases indicate dishonor when used before, during, or after a duel, so try to avoid them if you don't mean it. Next I see that my opponent is wielding the Astora Greatsword with both hands and a Kestis on standby. To deal with the Greatsword, I expect to exploit the fact he will be stuck in attack animations, making him vulnerable to backstabs. I also know that the weapon is slow, so I will be able to use the speed of my sword to my advantage. There's also the fact that my opponent will have Hyper Armor or Poise, meaning trading hits will greatly benefit him, so I will have to avoid attacking if he enters his attack animation. Here, my walking serves 2 purposes. I'm trying to see if the character model moves smoothly, which would indicate a better connection. When the movement is jerky or unnatural, you know your connection is going to be a liability. The sooner you identify this, the better, as a poor connection will counter some strategies such as parrying or backstabbing. I can see here that the movement is smooth, so I have confidence that my actions will work as I expect. The second reason I walk here is to bait an attack. I have spaced myself such that if I am hit, I know there is phantom range at play, and if I am not struck, I can immediately counter. Here, I notice that he pulls out his Kestis. This shows me his desire to parry, and when your opponent switches from two-handing to their parry weapon, there's a great chance they will attempt to parry your next attack. Running at them is a good way to bait a parry, as you'll see here. He returns to two-handing, and I identify his playstyle is to outrange me. This is not a great strategy for greatswords as their range does not compensate for their speed, and if I'm careful I can use that space for my counterattacks. The Astora greatsword, which I recognized earlier, has a charging weapon art. Users of weapons that have a charged weapon art are aware of their ability to cover ground with the attack and are more likely to use it when you give them that spacing. These attacks are also easily parried. I also know that not everyone knows these attacks can be parried, and if I think that's the case, I don't punish since I don't want to discourage newer players. The player base is sparse as it is. I can already see my opponent improve as he begins to lure me closer to poise through my attacks and outtrade me. The adjustment comes too late, but these are tactics he could use in the future against these faster weapons.